All right, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck. Welcome back to another flight with Captain Nabs here, continuing with a pilot's life career. Today we have got a early morning flight, and let me just kill the volume on my other device. There we go. We got an early morning flight today out of Vancouver. And as always, we're still working for WestJet, so we're doing it in the PMDG 737. And today we are going from Vancouver. It's a straight shot north. It's a pretty short flight. It's an hour to take us to Prince George. Nestled high in the Canadian Rockies there. Prince George, pretty much a straight shot due north. It's not very far. It's 281 nautical miles. It's not a long flight today. So that's it's going to be a pretty short stream and a pretty short flight today, which is a big contrast to, of course, what we did in our last flight, where it was the 6-hour epic from Orlando up to Vancouver. So this one's going to be a quick and dirty one. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to chat, but that's okay. We're going to have more streams coming up this week. So in the meantime, just a quick walkthrough of my pilot's life status here. It's we have precisely 300 experience points, which we're getting up towards captain level. It's not great, but we're getting there. I got almost $1,000 in the bank, 130 hours flying here, over 48 flights, and the most flown type has now become the 737, thanks to WestJet and Air Transat as well. They have, let's see here, between the two of them, they have between the two of them, they've definitely had a lot of 737 flights. So there's the update of how my career has looked so far. Been on a bit of an upswing the last month or two with quite a bit more flying, and March is going to probably surpass even February here, so we're going to be up to quite a bit of flying here. As you can see here with the types of aircraft, 737's winning out, but not by a whole lot. The Dash 8, I did a lot of flights in the Dash 8, but because I did both Transat and WestJet with the 737 is now quickly becoming the most popular aircraft on my career here. Alright, so again, we're going up to Prince George. We're going to follow that up on our next stream eventually with a flight all the way down to Puerto Vallarta and back to Vancouver. But we're not going to be doing that today. We're just going to do the leg to Prince George, get it over and done with nice and quick here. So here we are in Vancouver, so we're going to hop in the flight deck and we are going to go ahead and get started with everything here. It's a little bit dark because it's fairly early in the morning here in Vancouver, but the sun is coming up slowly and it's going to get better as we go here. Just trying to configure myself for departure here, make sure that FS2 crew is set up the way I like it. And before we even run the pre-flight events, I'm just going to really quickly make sure that we can power this puppy up here. So first thing is first, let's get the batteries on. We got 24 volts on the battery with no external power, which is great. Get the external power on. And there we go. Get that yaw damper on, get the emergency lights armed, get the... What would be nice is if we actually got the dome light on, and I need to just shift myself a little bit here. You know what, and actually I realized, give me one quick second here. There we go, that should be a little better. One thing I realized is that Track IR has a default setting that is really quite overkill in terms of how far your head moves on the default setting. So I have a customized P3D setting that I like to use. And I think somebody knocked my Track IR because it seems like I am trying to just... Oh my gosh. Cannot seem to find a happy range where it sees me everywhere I lean. What is going on today? Hold on. It's very odd. Track IR is generally a good system, but it has its limits. You can't turn your head like an infinite amount because you have to keep yourself kind of within the range of where Track IR can see you. And you have to have the sensor kind of aimed at your head in order to do it. And if I turn, I'm losing it here. I don't know why. So we're just going to do it the easy way. And we're just going to do it looking up like this. Okay, there we go. Now I can actually see what we're doing here. So we'll just test the flight recorder there. Yep, the light goes out. That's good. Test the mock clickers. That's good. Alright. Sometimes you just got to give up. Alright, so we're going to get this party started here.
Okay, let's get this show on the road.
With that, and I think we got everything we basically need up here. We got lights. Do we have the logo light on? It's kind of half dark, half light, so let's get the logo light on. And let's hop right into that FMS and start setting up. Today, it is, as I said, a simple flight.
I'm up for the walk around.
Thank you. Oh, that's not what I want to show you. I want to show you the actual finished flight plan, not the sim brief flight plan that gets us there. And actually, before I forget, let's call that fuel truck, so we're not waiting forever for fuel. And we probably should call catering early in the morning, too, because they probably should bring us some fresh catering today. Alright, so there we go. So this is our flight plan here. It's a fairly straightforward route today, so let's go ahead and hop in that FMS and get going here. There we go. Alright, so position init, and let's go ahead and grab that GPS coordinates. We can initialize the FMC. Dual FMCs restored. Thank you. Route. Alright, today, as I said, it is Vancouver to Prince George. The flight today, it's WestJet 3277. And for anyone who's thinking that Prince George is a little bit of an odd flight for a 737, these days it is definitely being flown with the Dash 8. However, this is basically kind of a repo flight to get this plane to Prince George to do a direct flight to Puerto Vallarta. So you'll see that oftentimes at airports. You know, this would probably be like normally like a once a week kind of deal where they do a vacation destination from a smaller airport. When I start up the airplane, ground power is already available. I honestly don't know why it wouldn't be available. Normally you would expect ground power to be available when you sit in an airplane at the gate, so that's strange. I don't know why. If you have the NGXC, this is the NGXU, so maybe it was something that changed with the NGXU to by default have ground power hooked up when you start up the airplane, even if it's cold and dark. Because one would expect most of the time you're going to be using ground power. So maybe that's an NGXU thing. Let's see here. Winds are out of the east, so we're going to use 8 right for departure on the Vancouver 1. And then the routing is fairly simple today. As you can probably see at the bottom of the screen there, it's a fix called Gary. And then Seaton. Then J534 to Williams Lake. Oh, and they want to open up the catering doors. Alright, let's do that real quick here. Doors. Let's open up the catering doors. And we need refueling as well. So those are opening. Let's get the fuel truck. And let's pull up our flight plan really quick here. 25 minutes of extra fuel. Coming back to Vancouver as the alternate, we need 16 tons of fuel. So we'll go ahead and put 16 tons in there. YWL, and then it's Jet 518 to Prince George. 18. Oops. Wrong side. That's an airway. To YXS. And that's it, and then we can just do an arrival. We don't even have to pick a runway yet. I could pick one either off the flight plan or by looking at the winds. Winds are out of the south 180, so I think an ILS 15 is going to be our most likely bet into Prince George today. we'll do the YXS transition. I bet that's a procedure turn, which I haven't done in the 737. The 777's the same, no GPU at the start. Yeah, I believe that's the case. I think that's something that PMDG has just shifted over time. Or when they originally set up all these airplanes, they said, no, we don't need, we won't hook up the GPU by default. And I think they've realized that because 99% of the time when a pilot gets to an airplane at a gate, even if it's dark, the GPU's plugged in and powered up. That is a normal kind of way to start an airplane. So I think that's kind of what they've done. Is at some point they realized, like, oh, let's change it and let's make it on by default. So the NGXU is obviously one of their newest generations of airplanes now, along with the 777 update. So have you done the 777 update? Like 2 weeks ago, PMDG dropped a new 777 version, and you have to go and download the installer, uninstall the existing version, and reinstall it because it's a very big update. Do that and see if you get ground power on by default after that. I think you do. I think you'll find you will. Cost index 23 and reserves. Let's see here. So we need 4,800 to get back to Vancouver, plus 2,200 for reserves. That's 7,000 essentially. So we're going to look at reserves of 7,000. Oh, you're on FSX Steam, yes. Okay, so that's probably the reason why it's just you've got the older versions. Like I said, I think at some point PMDG changed their philosophy.
Safety check are complete. Can we start boarding now?
Go for it.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think that's why it's just you're not on the newest versions of all the software because you're on FSX. So, and I'm not trying to, badmouth it or anything like that, but that I think is the reason why. I'm on the P3D version 4, so I'm on the brand new 777. I'm on the NGXU. Let's see here, average cruise wind. 268 at 12. So yeah, you may not be able to do anything about that, unfortunately, with the older versions. The answer, absolutely yes. Stick with me. If you haven't already followed the channel, follow this channel, because tomorrow the CRJ 700 will launch for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I will probably pick it up tomorrow. I probably will not have time to fly it tomorrow because I'm just going to make sure it's installed, make sure it's running correctly, but I will do a first impressions flight on Wednesday. So follow the channel, and on Wednesday I will definitely be taking that thing up for a flight, because it should, I hope, if everything's going well with it, it should be a really good airplane. Okay, so let's do some performance calculations here for takeoff. CYVR. This is going to be departure 8 right. We're going to go with a dry runway. We're going to go with calm winds. Temperature is 1 degree in Vancouver. It's a chilly morning in Vancouver. And the altimeter 3014. Alright, I'm going to say takeoff 1. I'm going to do flaps 10. Air conditioning on. Anti-ice. What's the ceiling at here in Vancouver? Oh, we got no clouds, down low. So anti-ice off. And, I need... did it automatically sub in my takeoff weight? Is that my correct takeoff weight? That looks about right. Based on the estimates, our takeoff weight should be in the neighborhood of 141. I think it did a gross weight takeoff, so let's do this. Let's go gross weight 139.1. So let's do, if I put in 139,100, then I should get a... And I'm just going to put in a random CFG at this point. Let's see here. So we've got takeoff 1 derate to 36 degrees with flap 10. So takeoff 1 derate to 36 degrees. And we're planning on flap 10 takeoff. CFG at 22, that was a pretty close estimate. It's like I've flown this airplane once before. Alright, so there we go. We've got the takeoff information's all in there, and it pretty much matches 35, 36, and 42. Yeah, the calculation matches exactly. So the FMS and the performance calculator agree. So there we've got everything set up. Alright, and let's just have a quick glance around the overhead panel. Hopefully this guy is doing his thing anyways. So let's go ahead and get the speeds in there. What do we say? 142 is V2. Oops, too far. 142. Heading is 083, I think it is. I'm going to check it in a second here. 7,000 on the altitude. Get those flight directors up. Set 3014. I'll pull up the charts in just a second and we'll check that out. Let's see here. 3014. Oh, the FO already set it for us. He's already on it. Okay, so we're just going to check that in 1 second here. Make sure we've got that all set first. We're just checking all our caution and warning lights here. Everything appears to be functional. Alright, and we've also got to set the parking brake. Go. Wrong lever, that lever. Set up our radios for Unicom since I don't yet see anybody here. And we got 2,000 on the transponder. I think we're just about good to go. Do a little oxygen mask test. Alright, and let's go ahead and pull up the charts here. So, come on, you can do it. Alright, so we are doing departure. We're doing the Vancouver 1. But what we actually need is, actually this will work just fine. It is 083 heading, so I was right. Haha. Not my first time. Okay, I think catering is ready to close the doors now, so let's get those doors closed. There we go, that should do it. Fuel truck is still pumping fuel. It's going to take him a couple minutes because we got to load a fair bit of fuel. Not too much, but it's a fair bit. And here we go. I think we're just about ready to do the brief here. Alright, let me think here. I think we got everything we need for the brief. Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation transfer and display switches. Normal, auto. Window heat, on. Pressurization mode selector, auto. Flight instruments.
Heading 082. Altimeter 3014.
Checked. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
Are you ready for the takeoff briefing? Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Yes.
Alright. So, first flight of the day. In the event of any abnormality or other problem during taxi, we will stop. Otherwise, this will be a left seat takeoff. Any malfunctions prior to the V1 of 135, I'll call stop or go. If the call to stop, I'll close thrust levers, apply maximum brake, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum reverse, and stop on the runway. I'll set the parking brake, PA, remain seated, and call for any required memory items or QRH checklists. In which case, you will verify reverse monitor deceleration, call 360 knots, and advise ATC Mayday, 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 WestJet 3277 stopping on the runway. If the call is go or we're at or above V1, I'll continue the takeoff at 400 feet. I will call heading mode, heading select, and ask you to verify the bank. The engine failure procedure out of Vancouver. Initially, we're going to fly runway heading and reaching 3,000 if we haven't gotten anything else. Actually, reaching 1,100 if we haven't got anything else. We'll make a right turn out to the south, probably about a heading of 150 to get us out over Vancouver Sound and away from the high terrain. We'll retract the flaps on schedule above 1,100 feet, and once it stops in the climb, we'll action the emergency. Alright, any questions about that? No. Alright, so on to the normal departure briefing. So that's the emergencies, the normal briefing here. We are starting out here at gate 39 today, which is right here on the end of this pier here. And we're taxiing for departure runway 8 right. So it's going to be down Juliet, Lima, crossing runway 13, Lima 4 to hold short of 8 right. The only hotspot along that route is the crossing of this runway here at 13 at Lima. The departure today is a fairly straightforward vector SID. It is the Vancouver 1 departure in Vancouver, BC, 10-3 Delta, the 5th of November of 2020. Safe altitude for 100 miles is 12,800. We know there's lots of high terrain around us. Non-jet aircraft do not exceed 165 knots to climb till contact with departure control and passing 4,000. That's not us. Jet aircraft use noise abatement departure procedures 1 or 2. Refer to 10-4 for additional requirements. No turns below 3,000 is what I know that says, having read it before. For runway 8 right and left specifically, it's climb heading 083 or as assigned by ATC, and maintain 7,000 or as assigned. Expect radar vectors to the file assigned route and clearance to flight planned altitude, flight level 5 minutes after departure. So we do have over here 7,000 and our 083 heading programmed in, so we're already set for that. No turns after departure until we're authorized by ATC. If no ATC comes online, we'll make a turn at 3,000 feet. We'll have to watch for terrain because there is lots of high terrain in the direction we're going. Weather, it looks like a nice morning here. It's a little cool, but we checked, there's no ice on the wings. It's 1 degree, so we're good. No frost. Operational, check for NOTAMs here. There is no MEL on the airplane. The airplane is fully functional. NOTAMs for Vancouver. Juliet South Whiskey 2 not available to large aircraft. Okay, that's not us. 8 left, 8 left. A few taxiway things here. 8 right, distance to read 10,830, that's fine. And anything 8 right, certified non-precision only, standby powers unserviceable. I think that was there before. Takeoff 8 right and 26 left, not authorized below RBR 1200 for the same reason. Approach procedures, we're not doing an approach here right now, we're just doing a departure. There's no SID, NOTAMs, so there's no relevant NOTAMs. We will be, let's see here, we're going to be taking off at about 140,000 pounds, and I honestly don't know the limit off by heart in the 7.3, so I gotta look it up here. The max landing weight is 138, so we'll be pretty close. We may have to burn off a little bit of gas if we have to come back immediately. We have to burn a little bit of extra fuel. Otherwise, yeah, as I said, noise abatement, no turns below 3,000, and that's it. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Alright, so we're getting ready here. Did we finish the fueling? Because if the fueling's done, we can start the APU. Looks like the fuel truck is all gone. So let's go ahead and start that APU. We got the fuel pumps on already, we do. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're just about ready to get going here. I'm just going to do one quick thing here. And I'll be right back in just 30 seconds here. Alright, there we go. That sounds like the load sheet's in.
Here's the load sheet for you.
Thank you. So he's going to put in the updated ZFW with the final numbers based on the passengers who actually boarded. And if it changes very much, it may change the takeoff numbers. So he's going to go to the init page there. And it looks like it's pretty much the same numbers. Verify takeoff speeds.
What's your leg, please?
And he's also going to set the trim right now for takeoff. Based on this, should be 5.38. Yeah, pretty close. He's got it in the right spot, more or less. Let's see here. The APU should be up and running here. Yes.
Takeoff speeds.
Verified.
Check.
Alright, so now the APU generator's on the bus, so now we can go ahead and put ourselves on the intercom. Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please disconnect external power.
Roger. Disconnecting the GPU.
Alright, so they're going to get the GPU out of here, and we're just about ready to go. Just waiting for this guy to finish all of his procedures, but I think we're just about ready to go here for another leg. Let's just make sure. I do have the current flight screen up there, so when I start the engines, it should come up automatically. The winds are 5 knots out of the east, but he's departing that way.
Disconnected.
Thank you. For some reason, it didn't recognize KLM as a call sign. I'm surprised there's no KLM call. There must be a KLM call sign. Maybe it's the type of aircraft. Because it defaulted to Orbit Airlines. Anyways. Here he goes. He must be flying an airplane type that the Fly AI library doesn't have. One that I've noticed they don't have is the A350, and that's one that I've seen a few people have flown, and it doesn't have anybody in there. It doesn't have any entry in there, so it defaults to a default aircraft. Oh well. Alright, so we still got a couple of doors open here. Are we done loading bags? Yeah, these guys are done loading bags, so we should be able to just fast forward this a little bit here.
Hey guys, all passengers are on board. Are we cleared to close?
Go for it. Thank you, it'll be a short taxi. Thank you, it will be a short taxi. And I guess we can trigger GSX to get ready here. Catering service completed. Waiting to close the forward door, which should happen any second now. There it goes. FS2 crew does that automatically. They should pull the jet bridge automatically. Excellent. Excellent. Love it. It's all coming together. Sometimes the GSX integration does not work perfectly tight, but today it seems to be working it nicely. Before start checklist down to the line.
Before start checklist to the line. Fuel 16.0 thousand pounds. Pumps on. Passenger signs on. Windows.
Locked.
Locked. MCP.
Speed 142, heading 083, altitude 7,000. Altitude 7,000.
Checked. Takeoff speeds.
V1 135, VR 136, V2 142.
Checked. CDU pre-flight.
Complete.
Completed. Rudder and aileron trim.
Set and checked.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Departure check completed.
Confirmed. Complete.
Release parking brake.
Before start checklist completed to the line.
Below the line.
Flight deck door closed and locked. Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
Alright, and he's ready to go, so brakes off. Here we go.
Commencing push. Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push completed and brakes set.
Icing conditions, huh? It's 1 degree, guys, honestly. Start sequence is 1, then 2.
Check.
Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
We now request your full attention as the flight attendants demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. When the seatbelt sign illuminates, you must fasten your seatbelt. Insert the flat metal clip to the buckle and pull on the loosen strap to tighten it up. To release your seatbelt, lift the upper portion of the buckle. We suggest that you keep your seatbelt fastened throughout the flight as we may experience turbulence. There are several emergency exits on this aircraft, 2 forward, 2 aft, and 2 over each wing. Please take a moment to locate the exit nearest you. In some cases, the exit may be behind you. If we need to evacuate
Starter cutout.
Informed crew member advises you to remove
Checked.
Confirmation
in
for
the
good
event of
engine start.
emergency, please assume the bracing position.
Okay, looks like we got a stable start on number 1.
Your elbows against your
Start
thighs.
engine 2.
Or flat on the
Starting 2.
A life vest is located in a pouch under your seat or between the armrests. When instructed to do so, open the plastic pouch.
Valve
and
opens.
release the vest. Slip it over your head. Press the straps around your waist and adjust it
And
to
2
the front.
rotation.
To inflate the vest, pull firmly on the red cord only when leaving the aircraft.
Oil pressure's rising.
Fill the vest, blow into the mouthpiece. Use the whistle
And
light
1
to
rotation's
retract the vest.
increasing.
Also, your seat bottom cushion can be used as a flotation device.
25%.
Push up on the seat, flip your arm to the straps.
Fuel
and
on.
push into your chest.
Valves moving.
We remind you that
Valves
this is a
open.
non-smoking flight.
Fuel flow's
Therefore,
indicated.
disabling or destroying the smoke detectors located in
And
the
EGT's
lavatory
rising.
is prohibited by law. You will find this and all other safety information in the card located in the seat pocket in front of you. We strongly suggest you read it before takeoff. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask one of our crew members. We wish you all an enjoyable flight.
Alright, looks like we got a fairly good start proceeding here. Nothing spiking up too quickly, too high. It's 56%.
Starter cutout.
Starter cutout, thank you. And the EGT's coming back down. Looks like everything's stable, so we can go ahead and confirm the good engine start. I don't know why you wait all the way over there, buddy. Couldn't you be like about 100 feet closer? Because then you've got to walk all the way back here to disconnect the tug. I feel like you could be more efficient at your job here. Well. Short flight today. We're going to get there pretty quick. No big deal today. One of these days I should do the pushback, again, the manual pushback with the NGXU tug. There he goes. Just playing with the external views while I wait for this guy to walk away far enough.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Thanks, buddy. Flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
And I can never remember, some of the 737s will have the flight controls on there, but this one does not, so just gonna do it just by feel. Flight control check. Just make sure everything at least is moving unobstructed. Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators. On. Probe heat. On. Anti-ice. Off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall. Checked. Auto brake. RTO. Engine start levers.
Idle detent.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Dispatch clearance.
Checked.
Checked. Before taxi checklist complete.
Clear on the left.
Clear right.
Vancouver traffic, good morning. WestJet 3277 is at the terminal. Taxi for departure runway 08 right via Juliet Lima. Alright, we're underway. That was a pretty quick, seemed to me like that was a pretty quick start up there. 36 minutes, I guess. Fairly typical, I guess, but felt good. Felt like we got it underway at a reasonable pace. Set taxi light to on.
Taxi light on.
Thank you. Alright, not a long taxi out either. In the 8 configuration, this airport is relatively efficient, but in the 2.6 configuration, because the thresholds are so far down in that direction, depending on which side of the terminal you come from, it sometimes takes a long time to get to the threshold of your departure runway. Alright, one more time, we're just going to check and make sure that this flight did start up correctly. The end flight button's active. Yes, it started. It's tracking. Fortunately, no ATC online yet. It's a weekday. It's early in the morning. I'm not particularly hopeful that we're going to have some ATC, but you never know. I mean, there's always hope. Clear on the left.
Clear right.
Set strobe light to on.
Strobes coming on.
This runway is one of those ones that's used so infrequently, it's almost... most people forget it exists. Same as 1028 in Montreal. Actually, 1028 in Montreal was used a fair bit in the past. However, lately, because there's now a parking apron directly adjacent to the runway, and there's a lot of Transat planes parked on that area, that runway has not been able to be used for a long time.
Set.
Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 10, green light.
Stabilizer trim.
.3 upset. 5 upset. Set and checked.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
That simple set and check phrase was one of the smartest things FS2 crew ever did, by just allowing you, if you forget a phrase, forget the exact wording of a phrase, to just skip by something. It's such a useful thing to have. That set and check phrase, yeah, one of the best things FS2 crew ever did. It makes their software so usable. If you forget a phrase and you know you've said something similar to it, you can just advance through the checklist with a generic phrase. It's so smart. Did they call secure? I cannot remember. They should have by now, I would think. So yeah, we're going to just assume that they've called secure at this point. Oh, we left the strobes on the whole time. Stupid me. Oh, there they are.
The cabin is secure.
Before takeoff procedure.
Check.
Vancouver traffic, WestJet 3277, taking position, runway 8 right for departure, a northbound departure to Prince George.
Ready to go.
Clear on the left.
Clear right.
Get the lights on. And it clears for takeoff, so lights on. Why does it look like there's somebody on approach there? I hope that's not somebody. Takeoff.
Check. Thrust set.
Checked.
80 knots.
Checked.
Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up. Did that suddenly become really quiet at rotation? Select heading select. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Set speed 220. Flaps 1.
Speed 220. Set. Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
Select Command A.
Command A.
Alright, so we're through the noise abatement altitude. We can make the left turn. Hold on one second here. Okay. Very weird, because right at rotation, all of a sudden, the audio became really quiet for some reason. Alright, so there we go with direct Gary. Let's go ahead and get LNAV in there.
1000 to level.
Alright, and let's go ahead and set our cruise altitude of 36,000. Put that back to level change, 36,000. And I'm going to just do a quick little check of a couple of audio settings because it became super quiet. Cancel us.
6,000. Set.
There we go. Yeah, because it came really quiet, and I'm not sure if that is just my headset or if that's coming through the stream as well. So just give me 1 second, guys. Alright, so I'm very sorry guys, apparently that was me somehow. I adjusted the audio level in rotation there, my mouse must have slipped or something, I don't know
Place the cabin node.
how that happened. So hopefully that's back to normal now. Sorry about that. Go for it.
Check.
Alright, so there we are, we're through 10,000, let's do after takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds. On. Packs. Auto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No lights. After takeoff checklist complete. Pack isolated.
Okay, I didn't ask you to isolate the packs, I really didn't. That was just a mistake. Alright. We can probably kill the logo light now too, 'cause it's daytime. Go for it. Yes. Go for it.
Check.
Just skirting the edge of this cloud here, but what a nice day as we head north from Vancouver into the Rocky Mountains. Yeah, so that kind of screwed up my levels. Everything sounds a little bit off to me now. I must have done something and accidentally hit the volume control with my mouse while we were on the takeoff roll. I don't know how I exactly did that, but I did, so my apologies for that. And now I've got to sort of fix the levels and make sure I'm happy with them. There should be some background noise, but it shouldn't be nearly as loud as me, so hopefully somewhere right around there is just about right. Alright, so we're on our way. It's not a particularly long flight. As I said, it's basically an hour of airtime, so we're going to be on the ground in an hour here or less. So once we get going here, especially, we're going to have to really, once we get to cruise, we're going to have to set up our descent pretty quickly here. But in the meantime, we can enjoy some of this beautiful scenery as we head north from Vancouver. And this scenery right here is beautiful, but it's one of the reasons why Vancouver is a challenging place to control, because the terrain really restricts where you can vector airplanes near the airport, near the Vancouver airport. All your vectoring is kind of limited to the south side of the airport, because on the north side you've got this terrain that rises high 8 to 10 starts about 8 to 10 miles north of field, which is not really very much room in aviation. All right. We could probably do a much more efficient climb than 220 knots now. I probably should have put it in VNAV a little sooner. Got distracted by the audio issue, but now we're going to go ahead and get it into VNAV. It's a little bit bumpy here.
Transition.
Standard set. Set standard.
Standard set. Passing flight level 187.
He still has the belts on, which is good. I thought he said it could release them, but given the turbulence, right now all of a sudden I'd say we just keep the passengers in their seats for now, because she's getting bounced around pretty good here out there. What a beautiful morning for a flight, though, I gotta say. And what lovely scenery, too. I am looking forward to getting this airplane, especially into Microsoft Flight Simulator. The CRJ is going to be great, and we're going to have a ton of fun with it. But this one is just going to be... This is going to be the killer app, I think. And the RJ is great because you can do a lot of things with it. You can sneak into a lot of smaller airports with it. There's a lot of places where there's a lot of airlines that use it in a lot of places. So it's a good airplane. But the 737, I think, is probably the ultimate simmers airplane, especially because you can do a lot of short-haul flights into a lot of smaller airports. It's got the air stair doors built in if you really want to use them. But also, it's got long legs. You can do some of the longer legs. You can do a transcontinental flight in a 737. So I think it's a great compromise. The RJ is a great kind of first airplane to have in the sim. It's a lot of short legs, a lot of smaller airports. But I think the 737 will be one of the ultimate ones to get in there eventually. But I am still, nevertheless, looking forward to the RJ. I hope that it runs well. I hope that their beta testing has been pretty thorough, because I was flying the A3NX yesterday in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it didn't go that well. It's funny because I've done a few flights in it lately, and most of them have gone well. I've managed to set up the FMC, set up the airplane, get the airplane off the gate, up in the air, no problem. But for some reason yesterday, when I set up the flight plan, there was two problems. First of all, the FMC, for whatever reason, I set it up yesterday, and it would not follow the flight plan. I had the departure programmed in, and every time I tried to engage LNAV direct to something, it would just roll to a heading of 360. And it would just fly that, and that was its LNAV mode. It was just heading 360 for reasons I don't understand. I tried doing direct to different fixes. I tried reprogramming the flight, and all it would do was just fly a heading of 360. No, nothing else, which was very strange and annoying. And then the other thing too was that for some reason yesterday the performance in that airplane was absolutely horrendous. The frame rates were supposedly averaging about 22, but like almost every second it would stutter for a split second. It was basically unusable. So I don't know why that was. I've used the A3NX successfully a couple times, even since the last update, even since the last Flight Simulator update, and for some reason yesterday it just did not want to work. So I'm hoping that the RJ has been fairly well tested. Part of the problem with the A3NX project is it's built on the Microsoft Flight Simulator sim, and a lot of the features that it displays still rely on a base that is the default airplane. So there's a lot of problems with that, especially every time they update it, things change within that airplane. So I'm hoping the fact that the CRJ is an independent airplane that isn't built and layered on top of any existing sim airplanes hopefully will mean they will have less issues, I hope. Because I'll be very disappointed if the plane is not workable. I really am looking forward to this. I am 100% planning to do a stream this week, most likely on Wednesday. I'm probably going to get the airplane on Tuesday, install it, make sure that it runs, probably do at least one flight just to make sure that it runs. That the performance is reasonable, and then we're going to go ahead and boot up a flight on Wednesday and do a stream and actually really see how the airplane goes with a flight on stream. So, and it's going to be fun because it's going to be my first experience flying the RJ. I have never flown the CRJ before. I never had the CRJ for FSX, and I know that it was a popular, or for P3D, I know it was a popular airplane. A lot of people had it, and I've said it before. It's not that I did not want it, I didn't want to fly it. It was more just the fact that I have a lot of airplanes in my hangar already in the P3D world. I just didn't feel like I had space for one more. I probably would get it. I wouldn't fly it a whole lot. So it was just something that I felt like I had so many airplanes I wanted to keep flying that I didn't want one more airplane just taking my attention away from all the rest of the flying I'm doing. So that's the only reason why I never moved into it. But now, given that it will be the exclusive airliner for MSFS for at least the first little while, it's something I want to get my hands on. I want to play with it. I want to use it. And even the default airplanes in Microsoft Flight Simulator are better than the default P3D airports by a lot. So I'm very happy to kind of fly to some default ones. That being said, the stream I have planned is actually going to be between some payware airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator, some improved airports. So again, stay tuned for that on Wednesday. That is the plan. Wednesday I will be streaming that. And of course, if you don't get to catch the stream live, it'll be posted to the channel shortly thereafter for everyone to see and enjoy. Hopefully get their own impressions of the CRJ and decide if it's worthwhile for them if they haven't already made up their minds. And I think a lot of people already have. Everybody I talk to seems to want to be on top of it. This is probably going to be the most anticipated thing in the Flight Sim community since Microsoft Flight Simulator itself dropped. It's funny because there's been tons and tons of scenery that's come out for Flight Simulator, but until the airplanes really get into it, the scenery is background behind the real stars of the show, which are the airplanes. And I haven't really felt too inclined to pick up any payware scenery until there were some decent airplanes to start flying to and to get an idea of where those airports are, or where there's get an idea of what airports are worth flying to based on the profile, the mission profile of your airplanes that you're operating. So because it's going to be a lot of regional flying, I'll be looking for collections of airports that are a little bit closer together. And I'll be okay with smaller airports as well as bigger ones. One that actually I think is going to suit the CRJ so well, and it came out just at the right moment, is Dzierżawieckie's KDCA Ronald Reagan. I think that is going to suit the CRJ so nicely. There's lots of, first of all, it's in a very dense area. Being in Washington, there's tons and tons of other airports not too far away that will be great to fly to. And it's a short runway airport. It really favors the smaller aircraft. You can't bring a heavy in there. You know, apparently the 5.7s do fly in there, but you're really looking at an airport that is comfortable for 737s, 320s, and regional jets of all types. So I think that will partner up really nicely. And the river visual to runway 19 in DCA is one of the most spectacular approaches in North America, I think. It's just absolutely a wonderful thing to fly. Lots of fun. I've done it many times, and I look forward to doing it in Microsoft Flight Simulator with the CRJ. I think that's going to be just a fantastic combination. Alright, we are underway here. Let's see here. We're going to be top of climb here in about another 30 or 40 miles. And then we will set ourselves up for arrival, because you can see in here our distance between our top of climb and our top of descent is not very far. It looks like about 50 to 80 miles. So pretty much we'll level off and we will already start setting up for the arrival. In fact, I may even start doing a few things here while we're just waiting to reach cruise altitude, just do some preliminary work here. Namely, let's get some approaches set up in here. So let's go CYXS. So right now it seems like we're favoring the ILS to runway 15, and I don't believe there are any stars at this airport. No, there are not. So that's pretty much all we need, is the airport diagram and the ILS to 15. So we got those in there. The other thing we can do as well is set up our performance already. Let's see here. So performance, let's say show landing, and let's show the en route. CYXS. Runway 15. I think it's dry. Hold on, let's see here. Clear skies, -10. Cold, but it's clear. Again, as always, I'm just going to put winds calm. Kind of a worst case scenario, any headwind just makes the life that much better. If it was actually at all like close to a limit, then I might even consider putting it in there. Minus 10 and a QNH of 30.08. Reverser configuration, again, I'm going to take no credit for that. We'll do a flaps 30 landing. Air conditioning on. Anti-ice, I'm going to assume is off. Auto brake, we're going to do 2 non-normal. There is no non-normals. And we're going to need a landing weight here. Okay, so while I'm thinking about it, because I often forget to do this, let's get that brakes set, auto brake set to number 2. And we got 1,000 to go. Thank you. And let's go ahead and just quickly pop in a landing weight of 135,100. And now we can make a calculation.
Would you like to fasten seatbelt sign to auto?
No. No. Alright, so it says we need 7,400 feet to land this airplane with flaps 30 with no reverser credit. So if I do flaps 40, can I recalculate and do it? Yes, 6,800 if we do flaps 40. So let's do a flaps 40 landing. It's not a short runway, but we're pretty heavy. We brought a lot of extra fuel with us. So in preparation for the long leg down to Puerto Vallarta. So let's do we'll do a flaps 40 landing. I haven't done too many flaps 40 landings in this thing, so it should be good. Alright, there we are. We are level. And let's get ourselves set up here. So yeah, if we do flaps 40 and no reverser credit, and 137, 142, yep. So this flap 40 VREF matches, so let's get the flap 40 VREF in there. Very good. Okay. And let's go ahead and go back to the menu. So we've calculated the performance. We can land on that runway safely. Terminal charts, perfect. Let's just do the ILS to runway 15. Show me. And, oh yeah, it's actually not a procedure turn. YXS is east of the airport, so that's going to be fine. Perfect. So we'll just transition right into that approach. 1095 is the localizer frequency. And the inbound course is going to be 153. Set course on your side, 153. There we go.
Course 153 set.
Alright, so course 153 is set on both sides. And the ILS minimums here, we're looking at 2432. It's going to take a minute to get to that. Oops, I can't move my head too much, or I'll move off the button and then it'll stop moving. 2432 is what we're looking for the minimums up in the mountains, but down in a little valley caught in between the mountains. Prince George is an interesting place too. It's very much like a hub for air travel in northern Vancouver. Very busy airport. Lots of different airlines coming and going from it, especially the smaller carriers that are sort of moving people and goods from the regional airports nearby. But it's very much kind of a center of what happens in Vancouver, in northern British Columbia, I should say. I say Vancouver because I'm thinking of the Vancouver FIR, the Vancouver Center, because that's what when I'm thinking about Prince George, that's what I'm thinking about now, is the fact that I'm in Vancouver Center myself. 2432. There we go. Alright, we got the minimum set there. The altimeter in Prince George 3008. I may get an updated altimeter here in a second here. We'll set that there, and we'll set it on the standby, or on the main one here as well as 300. Oop, too far. And let's just refresh the weather and see if it's updated. Oh, 1500 Zulu, 3010, -9, still 9 miles, clear skies, winds out of the south. So 3010 now on the meter. There we go. 3010 set. And let's see here, vols, recommended 4200 at vols. So that I think is what we're going to plan on. So let's put in a hard, not 4200 and above, let's put in 4200 exactly, because that'll give us also some room to decelerate as we join final there. So not 4200 and above, it's 4200 on the money, and that'll maybe might shift our top of descent point a little bit, but that's fine. Better that we're a little bit low, started to descend a little bit early, and we're not struggling to lose speed and altitude at the last minute here. Alright, I think we got everything set up, so are you ready for the approach briefing?
I am ready.
Alright, very good. So today we are doing we are not doing any arrival. There's no arrival transition. We're just going straight to the Prince George VOR, and from there we're going to transition directly into the ILS to runway 15 in Prince George. This is on plate 11-1, effective on the 11th December of 2020. IXS 1095 is set... oh, wait, it's down here. 1095 is set twice. The inbound course of 153 also set both sides. The glide slope at Mannin, 3630. There is a conditional on that, so we'll have to read that in a second. Mannin 3630. And ILSDA 2432. Yeah, 2432, and we do have that. It's clear skies anyway, so we're expecting to see the runway long before we reach minimums. Touchdown zone is at 2232. Let's just check up here. 2250 on the landing field elevation. Perfect. TAA. So today we're coming into Prince George. This is based on... What fix is this based on here? It's based on vols. So within 30 miles, we're looking at an altitude restriction of 6,900. If we get to Prince George, then we can come down to 5,400. 3,700 is the minimum inbound to Foals, and then from Foals we go to Mannin, and we're on the glide slope there. So we got to keep an eye on this. 6,900 initially, 5,400 after we pass Prince George, VOR 3,700, which we actually will level off here at 4,200 anyways at Foals and intercept the ILS like that. Missed approaches climb track of 154 to the XS NDB, then a climbing left turn to 7,000 track 149. So climb track 154 to the XS NDB, which is straight ahead, then a climbing left turn to 7,000 on track of 149 and inbound and intercept the 170 radial to Chubb. Alright, so give me 1 second here. Let's just Alright. So yeah, those are the missed approach points there. So after Mannin, so first of all, let's do this. It's YXS, it's Kinnev, it's Foals, Mannin. Yeah, that's all in there correctly. And if we miss, then we go straight ahead, cross the XS NDB, and then we intercept 170 to Chubb and hold at Chubb at 7,000. All right. Radar RNAVs required. Safe altitude for 100 miles is 12,800. Procedure turns not authorized when using the Quesnel altimeter setting at 190 feet to all procedure altitudes. That's why this is conditional. So we're using a local altimeter. That's fine. Localized reliable only within 10 degrees of the center line. Pilot controlled lighting on 118.3. It's daytime. We should need the pilot controlled lighting. There are a couple of ball flag notes here. 1 Kinnev GNSS is required. 2 VDA is based on a 4,200 foot intercept, so there's a 3,700 foot transition we could go down to here, but it's recommending we stay at 4,200. Also max 210 knots here at Kinnev, also noted on the plan. It's a normal 3-degree glide slope, should be no problem. Pappy's on the left, SSALR. Lighting system, we land at Prince George, and then it's a right turn off the runway. We probably will have to backtrack. So we'll probably have to backtrack. Oh, this runway is 11,400. The database is out of date. We'll have to backtrack runway 15 Delta into the apron here, and we'll pick a parking spot when we get there. That's about it for the charts. Terrain, there is high terrain. Within 100 miles, it's 12,800. There's 7,000 terrain within 30 miles of the field, especially to the east side of the field here. There is some higher terrain, so we got to watch out for that. Weather is, it's cav okay. It's a beautiful day. Clear skies. It's cold, -9, but otherwise it's a good day. And operational. Okay, so no MELs on the airplane. Let's just check NOTAMs again. This time for Prince George. Destination airport Prince George. Aircraft rescue and firefighting. There's problems with the aircraft firefighting shifts there, but that's not going to affect us too much. It's not usually a showstopper if at any particular time. And usually what they do is they schedule it so that during the times that flights are supposed to arrive, then they have good services available. Alright, and that's basically it. Fuel back to Vancouver. The one thing I need to know here, I believe it was 9 tons we need to go back to Vancouver. Submarine fuel, 47, 57, 57, no, 7 tons. So 7 tons, we are showing over with 11.3, so we got 4 tons extra. We can hang out for easily probably almost an hour, at least 30 minutes before we have to go back to Vancouver. Any questions?
Not today.
Very good. Okay, so that's the approach briefing out of the way. We've kind of left the coastal mountains, and we're kind of moving into the eastern edge of the Rockies, and there's kind of like a central, it's not like a plain, but there's definitely like a central valley in BC where the mountains are not nearly so high. That's where we are right now. Let's see here, if I pull up my live map on Sim ToolKit Pro, and maybe if I switch this to map style, topographic, that'll give you a good idea. So yeah, so we left that kind of coastal mountain area. We're kind of over this sort of, and it's not necessarily a mountain, not mountainy, but the mountains are not nearly as high. It's a little bit more flat, and then Prince George is just kind of on the edge of this up ahead here. For those of you that don't know, something neat I saw that Sim ToolKit Pro does now is they allow you to track your friends' flights. And I know they've been doing this for a while. They've had friends, but you can actually see your friends' flights on the maps. What was the other thing? P3D airports. You can actually display your P3D airport. So first you would have to scan it. It's under settings here, P3D, and you can tell it to scan. Where is it here? Somewhere here. You can tell it to scan your airport library. I don't know where the auto scan is. There's an auto scan somewhere. And it will scan your airport library, find your payware or your other non-default airports that you've installed, and then on the live map you can actually show them, which is a great function for those of you that are trying to remember which stuff you have installed, because Lord knows some people have a lot of extra stuff installed. So you can actually now overlay your P3D maps. I haven't done the scan yet, actually, or ditto for the MSFS installed map. So you can show I can't do the airspace boundaries, but you can show your P3D improved airports, so you can pick those airports, so you can try and remember which ones you have, because sometimes when you get enough, Lord knows you can't keep track of how much stuff you have. So I thought that was a neat function. That's something I've been looking forward to for a while. Okay, I see an FMS message here, reset MCP altitude. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and set this to a lower altitude because it's time to start down already. So I'm going to set 13,000, which gives me terrain clearance within 100 miles of Prince George, and down we go. That was a quick cruise leg there. But down we go. Alright, we're just passing over Williams Lake now, YWL, and then it's a straight shot up here to Prince George, somewhere up there. As you can see, greener values here. We're now sort of into we're now getting into spring weather in P3D, so the snow textures are slowly being displaced further and further north, which is kind of nice. No longer just flying over white and gray terrain, but lots of green terrain out there as well. It's going to be nice. Alright, we've got 97 miles to go till we get to Prince George. You can just see the missed approach point scrolling into our nav display there. What a nice quick flight though. Compared to the last one where it was nice and long, this one's really quick. Not much time to discuss anything in cruise, but... And speaking of which, descent checklist.
Checked. Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 2250 feet.
That's
Recall
correct.
checked. Auto brake, level 2. Landing data.
VREF 137, minimum's 2432 feet. Minimum's 2432 feet set. Two, 432 feet set. 2432 feet set.
Checked. Approach briefing.
Complete.
Descent checklist complete.
There we go. Sometimes it's just a matter of triggering that phraseology. But we are already in our descent. Did not take very long. Somewhere out there is Prince George, leaving some other mountains behind us. A beautiful day to be flying the 737 though. Nice clear skies up here. We're going to spot that airport from nice and far away, and that's one of the things that's nice about this airport. I actually flew here in the Caravan in Microsoft Flight Simulator not too long ago, and it was a pain to find this airport because of the low ceilings. It's stuck in a valley. There's a whole bunch of different airports up here that are stuck in low valleys, often with very high minimums, and in trying to sneak into these airports with the real-time weather can be a real challenge. But today it's going to be a beautiful day. We're going to see the airport as we go sailing right by, and we're just going to follow what we've planned here because it's already set up for our descent profile. I'm not going to probably shortcut it for a visual because we'll probably end up being too high for the visual. The route we have takes us over high terrain anyways, so we'll just follow the planned route here right down to the runway. I may disengage the autopilot a little early just to have a little fun with hand flying though. We're doing good here. Let's see here. What are we showing for an actual arrival time here? 15:57, so 22 minutes from now. Got our descent well underway here. And then the next stream we will have will be Wednesday, at some point Wednesday. I don't know what time exactly, but we will stream that CRJ in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've got a flight planned up for it. I hope the performance is good enough to be able to deal with the stream. Now, I'm just looking straight ahead, and straight ahead I see this high terrain kind of popping out here, this mountain here, which is probably where the Prince George VOR is. It's probably on top of that. So VOR is probably right up on top of this mountain here, and the airport is just somewhere off to the west of it here. So we're going to fly right over that, swing back around for the ILS to runway 15. If that is the mountain. It looks like it. It's right on our course, so it looks like it should be in the right spot anyways. I don't know for sure. Definitely a little bit of greener terrain though here on the interior valley here in British Columbia. Off to the east, the mountains are still looking pretty snowy and cold. And it is a cold morning this morning in Prince George. It's -9 this morning, so it's not a warm day yet, but spring is coming slowly but surely. We had a really nice day last week. It reached 19 degrees in Toronto last week, which just for mid-March is absolutely fantastic. It was only one day, unfortunately, but wow, what a nice day. Got out and really enjoyed that. Today's a little bit colder. It's going to be more of a stay inside still kind of day, I think. Alright, we are on our way. Anybody on the VATSIM network yet heading into Prince George besides us? I have a feeling we're going to be the only ones out here, yeah. I don't see any ATC, and I only see us inbound to Prince George. I'm still going to make the appropriate radio calls, but I don't see anything else happening on the other screen today. Unfortunately, I kind of was debating doing it a little later in the day, but this was probably the best for my time, so unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that you get ATC when you're on early in the morning, especially on a weekday. Some people still have jobs to go to, apparently. or at least they have to pretend to be at their job while they're sitting at home. Well, what a weird world we live in. Why are we doing 265 knots in descent? It's not a very efficient descent. Well, I guess we have trying to save a little. I mean, I guess it's an efficient descent. We could go a little faster, probably, though. Let's pick this up a little bit here. Might burn a little bit more gas, but we'll get there a little bit faster. Our only restriction right now is speed 250, obviously below 10,000, and the 210 knots as we pass Kiney there. But we can definitely pick up the pace a little bit for now. Yeah, I think that is it. 40, 50, 60 miles ahead. Yeah, that stream of terrain up ahead has got to be where the VOR is located, and the airport's off the other side. I think I've been here one time before, so I'm not terribly familiar with this area. This is new terrain for me, but I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be fun. It is a very beautiful part of the country, though. Absolutely gorgeous mountains everywhere. But probably feeling a little bit remote these days.
Crew, prepare for landing.
I would imagine. What with just the reduction in service, because the air service to Prince George, you know, there used to be a couple dozen flights a day going in various directions, and now it's probably down to 2 to 3 flights a day in total. Just barely keeping the links alive, because there's just not, and it's not there's not enough money to be made, but there isn't enough money to be made, unfortunately. Now it looks like we're falling way below the path, and I'm not sure why. I don't think the speed intervention should take us off the path, but let's see what happens if I do this. If I re-engage VNAV path, that's a little better. It should, and if I get the speed intervention, will it still stay at 1,000 feet per minute? It seems like it wants to do like a level change kind of descent here. So maybe what we'll do is we'll switch it to VS mode. Just set it to VS minus 1,000. No point in getting down too early on this. Get a little bit of power in there. There we go. That's better. We'll just sort of watch this path here and try to just track it manually if we have to. Try and keep this as efficient as possible. So somewhere off here is Prince George on the west side of this high terrain here. Yeah, I think the last time I did come here, which was the one and only other time I was here, it was completely clouded over. It was a low ceiling, so I didn't see any of what was happening around Prince George. But it's not flat terrain, but it's relatively flat. It's certainly not like fully mountainous. There's definitely some hills and everything, but it's a little flatter than the mountains on either side here. All right, just coming through transition here. I'm just trying to see if I can spot where this airport is. Could it be that there, or is it no? How far? No. It must be this. Must be where the actual VOR is. It's a little farther up here, so that the airport's more like over there somewhere. I think this is too close. We're still about 40 or 50 miles away from the airport. All right, let's transition. Push the wrong button. That's the button I was looking for. Transition. Set 3010. 3010 set.
Transition.
There he goes. Thank you for acknowledging me when I already told you it was transition. Brr. Now we're getting over snow. Now it's starting to look a little colder. I'm starting to feel colder just looking at it. Alright, so there's the NDB. Yeah, we're about 40 miles away from the airport, so it must have been up there. Now we're kind of getting into a bit of a hazy layer here. Might start to pick up some ice in a minute here. I'll save the NTIs for now. And, oh, you know what? We just missed the VNAV path, so let's put this back in VNAV and see if it'll chase this path properly, or if it'll pitch us back down. I don't want to do 265. I want to keep the speed at 300 though, please. And it seems like it just wants to just do just an idle descent. There we go. That's a little better. It's sort of tracking the path a little bit now, at least. See if PS minus 2000 will track this path, because 2200 was just a little bit too much. And then these two little green dots here are probably the deceleration waypoint for 10,000 feet. So when we get to 10,000, we should get to 10,000 right around there. Alright, we are looking to be 30 miles from Kaini before we can descend below 12,800, which is our 100 mile safe. So now comes the interesting part of trying to deal with all this terrain here and trying to pick a point where it is safe to descend based on the information on the chart. 100 miles, 12,800. We're within that 100 mile range. The next descent we can safely do is 30 miles from Kainov. So when we're 30 miles from Kainov, we can go down to 7,000. So that's what we're trying to do. Got a little bit of cloud moving in up here now.
1,000 to level.
Checked. So this is 20, so this is the 30 mile range right here. So we're almost there. When that reaches, I zoom in here, when Kainov passes this 30 mile line, then we're good down to 7,000. Before that, we don't know that we're going to clear terrain, and there is some high terrain right underneath us right here. This hill, I don't know how tall it is, but it looks fairly tall. We don't know for certain where it's going to be safe, so we're going to play it safe. Doing this. Approach checklist.
Altimeters.
3010 set.
3010 set. Approach checklist complete.
Checked. Here comes Kainov. There we go. We're now 30 miles south of Kainov. We're good down to 7,000. PS minus 2,000. That might be the airport right there. I just see kind of like a little shimmer, like a P3D runway. That could be the airport right there. We're going to have no problem spotting it anyway since we head inbound. And 10,000. Let's make sure our lights are on here. And maybe we'll also do this. Prince George traffic, good morning. WestJet 3277 is 20 miles southeast of the field at descending through 12,000. Inbound for an ILS runway 15, estimating the field in 10 minutes. Alright, coming up to 10,000. Let's get the speed back to 250 now. Go back into VNAV here, and it's going to work out just fine because now it's got the descent planned in there, and it's going to know this 250 speed restriction. So here it is. It's reducing its descent rate to allow it to slow down. Leveling off at 10,000 to lose the speed. And yeah, that's the airport right there. It's not stuck in like a really narrow valley or anything like that, but there definitely is some high terrain underneath us right here that you would not want to be messing about IMC without knowing where that is, knowing where you are. Many an accident report has been written about about pilots who thought they were in one place to discover they were actually flying into terrain somewhere not quite the same. Alright, once we get across there, what was the altitude again? It was 5,400. So 5,400 once we get across this next step here, across the VOR. Now it's pitching down and chasing the path. And we got a little bit of leeway because we had that early level off, so we're okay. A little hazy down here in the valley, but it's not too bad. No major ceilings anyways, no icing to worry about. This should work out quite well. Easy peasy, just a short little hop from Vancouver to Prince George. Alright, here we go over the VOR. 2.1, okay, we're good down to 5,400. And we got a deceleration waypoint to hit to 10 knots there at Kaini. We're a little bit above the path. We're 670 feet above the path. If I do a little speed intervention and speed it up to 250 for now, that'll get us a little expedited descent, hopefully. That'll help us, yep. Even just that extra 10 knots gets us a little kind of duck under to lose some of that extra altitude. We're going to hit 5,400 just before Kaini. It's going to work out well here. We're just getting back on the planned path. It's going to work out nicely. Checked. Looking good. Alright, slow for that 210 knot restriction at Kaini. There's 210 knots on the speed.
1011.
I think I'm going to get ready to hand fly this here a little bit just for fun, because I haven't done a whole lot of hand flying on approaches, so let's do that now. Alright, so disengage in the autopilot. Autopilot's coming out.
Check. Glide slope alive.
Checked. Set altitude 4,200.
Altitude 4,200 set.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Arm approach.
Approach armed.
Set speed 190.
Speed 190 set.
It's one thing to watch the computer do it, it's another to actually have to fly it. Flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
Okay, we're below the glide slope, and that's what's important.
1011.
Checked. Loke.
Localizer alive.
Checked. Actually really having to work for this, aren't I? It's also such a relatively small little flight director screen to focus on. I almost need to get this out of my way just so I can see the whole screen. See the little localizer track there at the bottom.
Checked.
I'm not doing a good job of tracking this at all. Why is this such a bad tracking here? Gear down.
Gear down.
Flaps 20. Set speed 170.
Speed 178. Set.
Glide slope.
Check.
Set missed approach altitude 7,000. Set altitude 7,000.
Altitude 7,000. Set.
Set speed 143. Flaps 25.
Flaps 25. Speed 143. Set.
Prince George traffic WestJet 3277 is on a 5-mile final runway 15. Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 40.
We're above the flap speed.
Flaps 40.
Flaps 40.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 40, green light.
Landing checklist complete.
I am not doing a very good job of flying a stable approach here. Trying to manage everything while also flying the approach is not always easy. Thank God I have FS2 crew to help me.
Speed brake up. Reversers normal. knots. Auto brake disarmed.
Alright, we obviously really missed the taxiway there. I'm going to have to do a big backtrack to get to it.
Check.
Prince George traffic, WestJet 3277, backtracking runway 15, Delta to the apron.
Check.
All that time I was in the air, I didn't bother trying to find a
Check.
parking spot. Let's park in gate 1. You don't need to follow me, we'll find it. I know where the terminal is, and there can't be that many gates. Alright, not too bad. I enjoyed actually hand flying that. That's a lot more hand flying than I normally do in the 737. It's a lot of work. I find that this is a very small... the flight director is a very small screen to focus on. In the real world, it would be a bigger portion of your view, but on a computer monitor, on a simulation in a computer monitor, it's so small. It's a little bit hard to kind of focus on it sometimes, and take in the information, because it's just, you lack the precision because it's so small. Okay to clean up.
Master caution. Anti-ice.
Checked. Start the APU, please.
Starting APU.
It's a pretty short taxi in here. Let's get rid of the lights. Prince George traffic, WestJet 3277 is clear of runway 15 on the apron. Alright, and we're here. Made it down into Prince George. That was a fun little approach, though. I enjoyed actually hand flying as much as it was a challenge, and I'm not used to that challenge. Maybe that's just a sign that I should be doing more practice. It's also harder to fly the sim than the real thing, because you don't get the force feedback as quickly. You don't get the force feedback ever, so you don't get the feedback into your body as quickly. You're only relying on the visual cues and not the feeling of the airplane actually maneuvering under you, and that provides a lot of subtle feedback that you don't realize you're getting half the time. So when you take that away in the sim environment, when you're only dealing with just what you can see, it makes life a little more challenging. Lights and doors.
Check.
So gate 1 is the first one here.
Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check.
Okay, so we've got the taxi light off, good. APU should probably be running by now.
Disarmed. APU on the bus.
Thank you. Just nice and gentle, don't want to run over anybody here. Lots of vehicles parked on the ramp here. Don't want to run over anybody.
We're not at 3 minutes yet.
Okay. So we have to wait till we get the 3-minute cooldown on the engines before we can actually shut them down.
3 minutes.
There we go, thank you. He said the AP was on the bus, beautiful. Alright, he's doing the shutdown procedures. We'll go ahead and call for some stairs, because we don't get jet bridges in Prince George. There we go, we got stairs though. We can request deboarding. And just waiting for him to finish his flow of everything's got to go off here. Come on, you can do it. It's a lot of button flipping in the 737. Most other more modern airplanes, so much of this stuff is automated. Bleeds switch automatically, electrical switch automatically, everything switches automatically, but this airplane, everything is still the old-fashioned way. Takes them forever to get everything done. Come on, buddy. They're going to have half the passengers off the airplane before we even There we go. Shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps, off. Probe heat, off. Hydraulic panel, set. Flaps. They're still down. Parking brake.
You're a jackass. You should have them up. Set.
Engine start levers,
Cut off.
weather radar,
Off.
off. Shutdown checklist complete.
You should be putting those flaps up yourself on the taxi. When I command OK to clean up, that's your signal to put the flaps up. Honest to God. But we're here. Welcome to Prince George, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of open ramp operations today with the 737. No jet bridges for us, and no pushback tug either. Normally you would park here, and once everything is out of your way, you just simply taxi right out here again. So, yeah. But we made it. That was a nice short flight. Prince George, Vancouver to Prince George. Basically an hour. Did not take us very long to get this done, which is great. Just trying to find some nice external views. So that's it. That is another flight completed. Next up will be Prince George down to Puerto Vallarta, and I think that's a good solid like 3 or 4 hour flight. That is a long flight. I'm curious actually. So I'm going to pull it up right now and do my quick sim brief auto plan here and see how long that takes, because I think that's wow, that's a pretty long flight there. That's 5.5 hours. It's probably about 5 hours in the air. So that's going to be another long one when we get to it. So stay tuned for that one, guys. We are going to do it soon, probably next weekend. But in the meantime, like I said, the Aerosoft CRJ is dropping tomorrow. I am going to definitely have that in my parked in my hangar very soon, and hopefully we'll be doing a live stream of that on Wednesday, so I can give you my first impressions of it, and hopefully convince you that it's either a good thing to buy or not. But that is yeah, otherwise that is it for me today, guys. So thank you so much for joining me for this flight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I know it was short. We didn't really get a chance to talk about very much, but nevertheless, I hope you always learn something when you watch this channel. That's my goal, is to make sure that it's an educational process for everybody all along the way. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and healthy out there, guys, and we will see you all later this week with the CRJ stream. Until then, take care.